We're live. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So this is our conversation around the new platform security analysis. So, bit of background. Been lots of stories in the news recently about data leaks. Just be nice to know, what is a data leak and what are we talking about? So a data leak is an overlooked exposure, a configuration exposure, which exposes you to sensitive data. And the biggest cause of that is software, misconfigured software. If you look in the news recently, App Omni did a big expose looking at ServiceNow instances, saying that misconfiguration of access control lists and other areas have led to their analysis saying that up to 70% of their instances they tested had a problem. So this is a big deal. ServiceNow came out with a knowledge article. There is help out there, but at the moment, data leaks are a big thing. They're going up year on year. Latest analysis, 2019 to 2021, we are now looking at a data breach cost of 4.24 million, 10% rise from 2019. So with all this going on in the world, uncertainty, we need to look at platform security and take it to the next level. So with that, Rob, where do we come in? How does that work?
Hello, Lee. Good to see you. So what we've looked at doing is creating an offering to address and look at misconfiguration of the platform, as you said. So we see a number of things going on, right? Obviously, there's a lot of pressure to do more on the ServiceNow platform. There's a shortage of skilled people. There's a high rotation of people. People come and go. Different partners maybe work on your instance and then leave. Different standards or levels of experience. But actually, one of the things that we've found from the past few years, where we've really focused on security on ServiceNow and compliance and privacy, we've found that a lot of people just don't know. They just don't know what they should be doing on the platform. They make presumptions about what ServiceNow do. Obviously, we're not talking about the stack of ServiceNow. ServiceNow do an amazing job, right? Like they are protecting the data center, protecting your instance. We're talking about and looking at, once you get your instance and you start building scripts, and there's so many options on the platform to lock things down or make them available to do things in a certain way. So we've come up with a security analysis package and a few flavors of it, as you'll see in a moment, from small to extra large, actually, where we can go in with a whole range of experts, ranging from, people that know ServiceNow inside out, like for more than 10 years, people like yourself, Lee, that have been around the platform for a long, long time, really know it like the back of their hand. But also we have a strong privacy team with privacy lawyers, people that can look at your environment and make recommendations depending on the kind of data you're storing on the instance, because we find people are bringing in data from many, many sources, and maybe it's not protected in a way that it could be, or there's room for improvement. So that's basically how we're addressing what we're seeing. And of course, then we've got, you talked about data leaks, data breaches. We're primarily at Wrangu, a lot of the work we do is focused on protecting data in some way, whether it's mostly using the ServiceNow platform to do that. But also, of course, we've got to take into account the low code movement and the citizen developer, where we're going to grow the number of people. If you look at ServiceNow Application Engine Studio right now, you can load an Excel straight into a table and start building an app, which is amazing. But obviously with, I don't know what the English saying is anymore, with great power comes danger or something. You probably know.
Responsibility.
That's the one. So that's what we've got, Lee. And that's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay, so a couple of things. So what you said, we've got small to extra large. What does that mean? What kind of packages are we talking about and how do they differ?
Okay. Let's have a look. I couldn't resist. I'm on vacation at the moment. I needed to see a good cat picture. So yeah, I mean, going back to what I said, you know, a lot of what we see is people think that it's taken care of. They don't really need to worry about that. That was part of moving to the cloud, right? There's things I don't have to do. And unfortunately, security is. And I'm going to skip forward a couple of slides first to look at this one here, which is published by ServiceNow. And I want to call out the fact, you know, there's shared responsibilities. So things that you should do, things that ServiceNow do, things that ServiceNow's data center provider does. Our packages primarily they focus on the things here in green, the things that you as a ServiceNow customer should be doing to manage the security and compliance of your ServiceNow stack environment instances. So for example, we look at how you handle authentication and authorization. And the important thing to know about the analysis we do is it does use, you know, ServiceNow give you a dashboard for some of this. And I hear quite a lot when I'm talking to prospects and customers about these packages, you know, but we've got the dashboard. Well, actually the dashboard from ServiceNow, the security dashboard covers one of these green squares. And what we do is a lot of talking, a lot of looking at process. People are a factor here and processes are a factor in how secure you do things, just as much on the ServiceNow platform as anything. So a lot of our packages are made up of talking and interviewing and understanding the context. What are you doing now on ServiceNow? What's your journey been like? And then probably, you know, equally as importantly, what do you want to do? Because if you're thinking of running a privacy program on ServiceNow, or you're thinking of, you know, extracting more value from the CMDB using the new CSDM model, I think it's called, you know, and you're going to model something like your manufacturing line or your IoT edge devices, the platform itself has got to be really secure. So back to what you asked. So what is it? Small, medium, large, and large plus. Small is really used in very specific circumstances. This is where a customer just doesn't know and wants us to go in and do a quick analysis of where they're at now. Typically, maybe their team, their ServiceNow expertise in-house is busy delivering more value and working on sprints to roll out new features, new functionality. And they might not have time to do this. So this is our ability of just having a conversation with them, doing a light touch of where they're at now, all the way to the other end, large plus, you know, you're doing custom apps, you've brought into the whole platform vision. You're using discovery, mature CMDB. Maybe you're thinking now of doing SecOps on ServiceNow. And you just want to know, you know, if I'm going to manage my security operations here, is the platform got a good foundation to start from? Well, I think that's a bit of talking from me, Liz. Did I get it all?
Absolutely. So just going to drive into this. You've already mentioned that a lot of this is talking and understanding. You do use Instant Scan, it's here.
Absolutely.
But from what you've just told me, that's a small part of what you do. It's not the main thing. And the difference between me going, you know, there's a lot of smart ServiceNow guys out here, admins and architects. What's the difference between them looking at the Instant Scan and going and trying to do it themselves and us doing it? I think you've answered it already, but what is the difference?
I'd like to think that someone that's gone through the ServiceNow technical architect program or the master architect with our playbook would be able to deliver this for a customer and do it. But the reality is, I keep on, you know, that same point is they're typically busy doing more important things to get more value out of the platform, to roll out that new feature or that new module or design that new custom app, right? They're doing the cool, good stuff. And quite often this takes a lower priority on the backlog, should we say. Now, next to that, of course, we bring deep technical knowledge in this domain and ServiceNow. So, you know, deep privacy knowledge, deep information security knowledge, and then combined with very, very high level of expertise, many, many years within the company of ServiceNow expertise. So we're able to look at the findings in the Instant Scan, and then apply our knowledge as professionals, but then join that up with what we've learned in conversations with key stakeholders around what's going on the platform. And it might not be ServiceNow people we talk to, by the way. You know, I've been with customers where it's been, you know, ServiceNow is a technology being used to provision user access. You know, like one of the things we love to see, right? Like ServiceNow really being used to drive work through the organization. So it's become like a provisioning manager for many things. Now, you know, if you've got your platform creating users in Active Directory or spinning up VMs to deploy some code for whatever, your DevOps pipeline or whatever, and it's got to be secure. So we're able to take our knowledge of the platform, the domain, the context of the conversations, and bring real insights, not just always technical, potentially gaps in processes before the technical or after the technical.
Sounds like a combination of archaeology and detective work alongside what the tool's giving us as information.
Yeah, it's really detective work, right? And I don't want to underplay the use, you know, like the incident scan, I wouldn't want to put a number on it. Maybe it's like 20%, but as you say, any customer can run that and it's brilliant, right? And actually you should be running it and it should be part of your quality gate. And if you're looking at the new CI/CD developments in the ServiceNow world, you know, being able to check for quality automatically as part of a release of some kind is paramount. But we look at those findings and then we start our detective work. We really dig in and we even go as far as potentially showing the customer if we find those things. And we also find positive things, right? See, you know, we also see people doing a really good job. So let's not just focus on the negatives. We still go in and review it, you know, and we do those things regularly. But we're able to sometimes, you know, actually show. I've been in a call where one of our professionals delivering this for customers literally run a script and said, well, here's all the data you thought people couldn't see. Now, sure, you had to be authenticated on the instance, but literally with any role, you could access some data that was presumed to be quite secure. And I think in that case, it was because some kind of script hadn't got an ACL on it. I can't remember the technical details, but it was very enlightening for the customer, and obviously gave them a direct recommendation, right? They could actually take action. They took that straight into the next sprint, got it fixed.
So that's great. That leads me on to the next thing, which is, okay, we've talked about small. We've got large and extra large here. We've got the big offerings. Can you kind of walk me through how this would work, how we mobilize, what the customer's going to get at the other end? You know, how does this break down?
Okay, so the deliverables. So what do you get at the end? And it's the same for all of them. They all contain a final report. It's the level of detail and basically the amount of detective work that we do makes the difference between them. Of course, if you've got one custom app, we can review that with quite high levels of confidence quickly. If you've got 10, 15, 20, it requires a different level of attention. And then, of course, the context of what those apps are, right? If you've built, I don't know, something custom to handle data for your loyalty card members on the platform, you know, we might have to look at that in a different way. I already mentioned the case of if you're provisioning users or you've got, you know, maybe using ServiceNow. I've seen ServiceNow being used as a bus, as a message bus. Lots of integrations, which is brilliant to see ServiceNow being used in those real innovative ways, right? But then from where we are at Wrangu, it's about how secure are they? What about the data? Is it minimized? Is it protected? Have you thought about some of the principles coming from privacy by design?
That's great. So I've got to go on now. I've got to ask the question. So what have you found? There's got to be some interesting things that you found already.
Right. So how this, and I don't feel I fully answered your previous question. So what have we found? Lots of stuff. I'll try and give some examples. How this works is you contact sales, you buy the package, we all come together and do a kickoff, get to, you know, go through what we're going to do, let you know the kind of people. really want to understand. I mean, it's really about understanding, you know, like, what's the journey been like? Where are you at now? What do you, and then, like, you know, what are the plans? Because for some of our customers, they're big plans. And that allows us then to have more targeted conversations and interviews. So we start the engagement, we align on what we're going to do. We start having a lot of interviews and conversations. And then we've also got a technical person in the background. You know, we need access to the instance, of course, to a instance, preferably as close to production. We actually need to check some things on production. We're okay to get an export of properties for those. A lot of technical work in the background, and it culminates in the deliverables, which is a DDAB report, as I said, and some other information. Now, and that can be anything from a couple of days to longer, you know, a few weeks, depending on the size of the package. And I've actually got this that outlines what I've said. Then with regards to what we've found, and obviously we've got to be really careful here. We don't talk, we have Chinese walls. You know, there's things we can't mention customers. This is highly sensitive. But, you know, ACLs or that aren't right, or are missing things. We've found gaps in processes. We've found, I tell you, you know, one of the things that I found interesting, really interesting, and it's a common theme that I've come across, and we've got another package, and we'll be doing a separate webinar on it around monitoring your ServiceNow environment. You know, if you've been doing regular IT for a long time, you know, you'll know that log centralization and monitoring of what's going on things, that gives you a heads up, right? It can allow you, you know, if you see network traffic from an address that you know is questionable, or from a country or region, whatever it might be, or if you see something in logs, it can give you a head start to know that someone's got in, something's not right, whatever. And like, I've talked to customers and prospects and internally about this particular package a lot. And it's the monitoring of what's going on ServiceNow. So I've seen a customer using some great features of ServiceNow, but they weren't auditing and monitoring their use. We've seen everything from the obvious that you can imagine. You know, we had a contractor here. We needed to rush through his access because we're all in a rush, right? There's so much to do in the ServiceNow. So we created him a local admin account, and it forgot to get removed, you know. So we've seen things like that around tidying up and tightening up how you give out access, through to the example I gave where data could be accessible. You know, technical things that I don't want to try and make you believe I understand, which is why we have a whole team behind us, right? I'm trying to think of other examples. I mean, we find hundreds of findings typically. So, you know, we've had instances where relatively new instances, you know, a customer called us in that had ServiceNow for about a year, just to, you know, this is a good example of a smallish package. Using ServiceNow for a year, not many people had access, only doing ITSM, but now the security team and architects want to know, as part of a decision-making process, to do more on ServiceNow, you know, how secure have we secured it? There's all these properties and all these dashboards and all these things. We want someone now to come in and do some analysis and to give us that assurance that we're good to go with policy compliance, that we're good to go with control automation and risk management on the platform and so on. And there, you know, it was a new instance. We found a few findings, nothing particularly major, all stuff they can improve on, and was well received. And then we've had, you know, customers that have been on the platform now for many, many years, and they've got some work to do to tidy up. Now, I'm not going to say that I would recommend, and obviously talking personally here, that this is a case for going back to out of the box, because what's to stop you going back to the out of the box and making another security mess? This is about getting in control, monitoring, checking, understanding what you're doing. And, you know, we can come in and run this package regularly, right? We could do a medium, and we've got, obviously this is an ongoing thing. You don't just run this package and walk away.
Yeah. I understand that, yeah, there are a lot of customers out there that have invested a lot of time and money into ServiceNow, and they're going to, like you said, they're all short-staffed. There's a lot of people doing things of more value. Just to have that peace of mind that things are that they've got a handle on things. They know how they need to improve, and they can start prioritizing. I suppose those findings you found as well will hopefully received really well. It's like, oh great, now we know. It's not a black box anymore. It's now we know what we've got to do.
Yeah, typically well received. Obviously, you can imagine it's always difficult, I think, to have someone else come in. And I think it's important for us. We want to make our customers feel like we're not poking around looking for dirt, right? We're trying to do the right thing here. We're doing this to help you have that assurance and bring our expertise to help you so that you can do more and sleep well at night.
And I noticed from the packages, everybody knows that ServiceNow is a huge platform. We're guided by the customer. When they're doing those interviews, when we're talking about what they want to know, it's more them telling us where to go. We don't just have free reign, do we?
Oh, indeed. No, it really is all about listening to the customer and understanding what they're doing, what their challenges have been, how they've implemented things, why they made certain decisions, and letting them know maybe there might be a better way of doing that and achieving the same thing. Or this custom thing that you built that's got these findings. There's actually something now in Rome I just made that release name up, right? Or whatever the release is that you might want to consider that bit, taking it back to out of the box, right? Rather than spending a sprint to remediate these things we've found, spend the sprint going back to out of the box for that feature.
Is there anything else you want to show, Rob, before I open it up for some questions?
No, I think if I've answered all the questions you had, that was just, I didn't want to bore people with slides. I've got a whole bunch of slides if you want to see more, if some of the questions demand it, but I'll stop sharing, Lee, and we'll go to some questions.
I forgot to say at the beginning of this that if you've got any questions, please chuck it in the Q&A. So I'm not sure if people have got anything in chat or if there is anything Q&A, but we'll open it up now to questions and see if anybody has any. Oh, there we go. How often do you recommend to have this analysis review?
Well, as many times as you need to would be a kind of an answer, right? I mean, you want to, ideally, we want to do this, once a year minimum, right? Around the time of upgrades. I would like to get our customers to the point where we bake these principles into their pipeline, their DevOps process or their DevSecOps process. So some of these things you should be doing as regularly as you can.
Well, you already shared that ServiceNow have given this the table of responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So I suppose this becomes almost like housekeeping. You kind of you do, rather than doing a massive spring clean every couple of years, you do it on a regular basis, and there's less to find.
Yeah, and these packages, they're kind of like Lego blocks, right? So you could decide to if you're a large sort of size and strategy customer, you could do a large once, and then for a regular medium for a period of time. If you're doing some big new initiative, putting something new on the platform, you might want us to come in and do these checks before it goes live as part of your design work, for example.
And I believe we've done that actually a couple of times now, haven't we? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Let's have a look. So I'm just going to throw a question out there, which is how long before someone's interested would it take to kind of engage us to get one of these up and running?
Depends on availability. But typically we aim, within 4 weeks we should be starting, and that's from the time we've got all the commercial paperwork we need in place. We will probably do some meetings before that, but to really be up to full speed and having those meetings and analyzing the incident scan output and the security dashboard stuff, 4 weeks is our target, 28 days actually. And then depending on the size of the package, you know, we'll go full at it, and within a couple of weeks you'll have the output.
And just as a follow-up question, who do we talk to, or who do we need from the customer side if we were going to engage? You know, what kind of people, actors would have to be lined up on the other side?
Yeah, definitely someone from the platform team. Maybe if there's a platform architect there, platform owner. We might have other stakeholders, you know, the customer that's doing or thinking of doing maybe risk management on the platform. They might want to have someone involved that can tell us about, so what are their plans, or if they're looking at doing vulnerability response, those people might get involved depending on what they're doing. You know, if they're doing cloud provisioning on the platform, we might want to talk, and they've built a custom integration to do some of that. We might need to talk to people that know about how that was set up. But we've got a run book that we've used to execute this multiple times. And so we provide all of this, you know, so yeah, it's not like once you sign, you don't hear from us for 2, 3, 4 weeks. The engagement gets contracted, and there will be some calls and information shared so that we can all meet when we get together for a kickoff with some advanced information.
Sounds good.
We've seen auditors involved, so people, you know, maybe a company's internal audit team who are actually auditing ServiceNow, who have asked us to do this as part of an audit. Different people there.
And I'm not sure if
such is the nature of the ServiceNow ecosystem,
absolutely.
Right? It's not just IT service management anymore.
No, I mean, we're doing wider and deeper on everything nowadays. One question, I'm not sure if you can do this, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Is it possible to see an example of something that we've, you know, a sanitized example? Or
so I can't share one on screen, but
okay.
If people are interested, or they're watching this on recorded or whatever, and you know, if they talk to sales, we do have something we can share, obviously, to give you an example of the deliverables, all sanitized, not referencing any customers, but we've got some sample output that we can share. And the best place to go for that is contact one of our sales team, or you, I think.
Or me. Yeah. Okay. I think I've answered all the questions. Just a quick spin out there. Does anybody else have anything else they want to ask? Otherwise, I think we're done, Rob.
Thank you very much, Lee.
And thank you.
Enjoyed this.
It's been fun. Cheers. Bye-bye.